If you're in the market for an e-commerce platform, it's more than business functionality. In this video, we are going to be talking about the top e-commerce platforms and what makes them different. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with the e-commerce platform selection, replatforming, the digital transformation strategy, as well as e-commerce implementation. Let's get back to today's topic, which is going to be the top e-commerce platforms. To compile this list, we look at several different factors, including our experience conducting these engagements with many different customers, and we are looking at what makes them successful. We utilize several different criteria. For example, market share, where these platforms are more successful in terms of the market, the user reviews, the community, and so many different data points that we utilize in compiling this research. So let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is MS Dynamics 365 Commerce. And in 2022, we had at number 10 SAP Hybrid Commerce. SAP Hybrid Commerce has advanced a little bit this year, and there are several reasons. Number one is going to be the change in the position for the Oracle Commerce solution. So some of the strengths for MS Dynamics 365 Commerce is going to be the seamless product experience, and the integration with other Dynamics 365 marketing platform, as well as journey builder, and that's what makes it different. Then you are going to have features such as your pricing, promotions, and products that is really designed for product-centric e-commerce experience compared to some of the other platforms that we have on the list. Now, what are some of the weaknesses? Some of the enterprise-grade features that you are going to find with other e-commerce platforms that we have on the list, they are not going to be there with MS Dynamics 365 Commerce. The whole ecosystem is not as robust when you are going to be requiring the best of breed capabilities, whether you talk about the experience management, the personalization, that's where it's not going to have as deep capabilities. The overall headless and support for modern framework is not going to be as strong. And the ecosystem in general for Microsoft, they are not really known as the commerce player, and they have several other solutions in their portfolio that integrate with some of the other Microsoft products. Having said that, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Commerce is still a very strong platform, and that's why it lands at number 10 on our list. Now, number 9 on our list is going to be SAP Hybrid Commerce. And in 2022, we had Oracle Commerce. Now, there is expectation that Oracle Commerce is probably not going to be supported, and that's why we had taken out. And SAP Hybrid Commerce in general has made significant advancement overall in terms of the headless capabilities. They have done significant work with respect to the commerce portfolio, and that's why we have advanced them a little bit in 2023. The strength for SAP Hybrid solution is going to be the integration with some of the other SAP products. And these integrations are very, very, very thick. The number of workflows and the data that you need to exchange to be able to enable the omni-channel commerce experience, it could be very expensive. And with SAP, especially if you are going to be on other SAP products, the commerce solution is going to be pre-integrated in exchanging the data. And SAP Hybrid is going to be especially helpful for the product-centric companies, especially if you are looking for that configurated experience inside your commerce solution. SAP Hybrid Commerce has one of the other strengths, and that is going to be in the regulated industries for the commerce solution. When you are going to have privacy concerns, when you are going to be complying with the data such as your GDPR, then SAP Hybrid is going to be stronger. The weaknesses for SAP Hybrid solution is going to be, even though it has a little bit headless capabilities, but the backend is still going to be very traditional. Now, there are pros and cons of that approach. Sometimes for the enterprise workload, they are probably going to prefer Java-based backend just because there is a perception of tighter security. So although they have the headless capabilities in terms of at least the front end that you can develop on top of the existing platform, it's not going to be as headless as some of the other composable commerce solutions that we have in the market. The interface is not going to be as modern as some of the other solutions. So that's another weakness that we have. And the technology is legacy. So having said that, SAP Commerce Cloud is still a very strong solution, and that's why it lands at number 9 on our list. Now, number 8 on our list is the new entrant this year, and that is going to be HCL Commerce. And last year, we had MS Dynamics 365 Commerce at number 8. The advantage with HCL Commerce is going to be, especially after the acquisition with IBM, their headless capabilities are far stronger. They have done a wonderful job overall with the solution. Even though the existing technology is still going to be there in the back end, the front end looks really slick overall in terms of the headless capabilities. And this is going to be especially helpful for B2C centric organizations. It's not going to have as strong B2B capabilities that you are going to find with some of the other B2B centric solutions. For example, SAP Hybrid has deeper B2B capabilities. HCL Commerce is going to be slightly friendlier for the enterprise grade B2C centric organizations. It's not really designed for your SMB. Now, the other strength for HCL Commerce is going to be the React based storefront. And for the most part, if you're going to be looking at any of the enterprise grade platforms, they are probably going to have React based framework. In this particular case, you will also have the DAM capabilities that are going to be exposed through APIs. So it's not going to be just a storefront the way SAP Hybrid Commerce is. In this particular case, it's going to be the entire capabilities that can be executed using your APIs or in the headless manner, the way some of the composable commerce solutions are approaching this. But the technology is still very clunky, especially the backend, but you are going to get all those enterprise grade capabilities that were part of your WebSphere Commerce. And it's probably going to be friendlier for the consultants who have already worked on the WebSphere Commerce solution. Now, the weaknesses for HCL Commerce is going to be legacy programming language and the architecture. The B2B capabilities are going to be limited. Having said that, HCL Commerce is still a very strong solution for enterprises that are seeking to build their e-commerce capabilities on top of this. And that's why it ranks at number 8 on our list. Now, number 7 on our list is going to be Commerce Tools. And this is also a new entrant. And this is one of the solutions that is part of the MAC Alliance, which is your microservices API first, composable, and headless is what it stands for. So in this particular case, this is going to be a very composable commerce experience that they are able to provide. Commerce Tools used to be just completely API. The whole commerce layer was delivered using API. In their case, obviously, it's going to be very scalable just because these APIs, the way they are designed more in the microservices architecture. So they have that scalability aspect because each of these microservices are going to be stateless. So you can utilize them as you like. You can compose them as you like. So that's where the composable experience is going to be really strong. The disadvantage for Commerce Tools is going to be that you definitely require very deep IT capabilities, the programming experience. And this is really designed for your enterprises, for SMBs, especially if they don't have as much IT maturity for them, it could be overwhelming. So one of the things that we have with the Commerce Tools is going to be, it's a true Mac platform, then it's going to be B2C friendly. As of today, it does not have as strong B2B capabilities, even though they have announced that they are probably going to be developing B2B capabilities, just like Shopify. And it is really designed for enterprise scale, and they have very large enterprise logos. So it's really proven in that space. And now some of the weakness is going to be the head capabilities are limited, even though they have acquired a head, which is fantastic. That is going to be the CMS portion of the commerce that they have acquired, but still it's not going to be as robust as some of the suite-centric solutions that are friendlier for the SMB customers. Now, in this particular case, you probably would require a lot of different best-of-breed solutions that you are going to be utilizing. So if you're building that best of breed architecture, it might be friendlier for you. But let's say if you cannot afford the integration, and by the way, integration is very complex in general, and getting that omnichannel experience using the integration, especially if you don't have the enterprise architecture expertise, it could be very challenging, especially if you are going to have many different vendors involved, because they all are going to be pulling the architecture in their direction. So that's where it could be really challenging. So those are some of the weaknesses, but still Commerce Tools is a very strong platform, and that's the reason why it lands at number 7 on our list for this year. Now, number 6 on our list is going to be App Server Digital Commerce. Now, they are called Optimizely. So they are maintaining the same rank as last year. Now, the strength for App Server is going to be, this is really designed for B2B industrial companies. The data model is very friendly with the ERP integration, especially when you are going to be hosting very deep B2B capabilities for the industrial commerce. When you talk about deep pricing and discounting layers, when you talk about these customer hierarchies, the buying groups, that's where the App Server is going to be really friendly. The other strength for App Server is that you are going to get a lot of functionality as part of the suite. Whether you talk about really strong content management platform, or you are talking about digital experimentation platform, you don't have to deal with many different vendors. Everything is going to be part of the suite. You are going to have pre-baked integration with many different B2B ERP systems. So that's where you can save a lot of money if you are going to be on budget to acquire the e-commerce platform. Now, some of the weaknesses for App Server is going to be the weaker ecosystem. They don't have as many partners as you are going to find with some of the other platforms, such as your Shopify, BigCommerce. It could also be too big for the smaller brands, and it's very expensive. So those are some of the weaknesses that you are going to see with App Server or Optimizely. But having said that, App Server or Optimizely is a very strong platform, and that's why it ranks at number 6 on our list. Number 5 on our list is going to be WooCommerce. And WooCommerce still maintains the same rank as last year. We have not had any changes there. The strength for WooCommerce is going to be, it's very SMB friendly. You are going to be content driven organization, and if you are heavy on WordPress and PHP, that's where you are going to appreciate WooCommerce a lot. The other strength for WooCommerce is going to be it's open source, and open source has many different layers. For example, developers are going to love that because you have a lot more knowledge base available in the open community, as you are not going to find with some of the other enterprise platforms. Now, the challenges with open source model is always going to be that you are not going to have as strong support as you are going to find with the enterprise vendors, where you are going to be signing the contract for support with a company. Here, the other advantage for WooCommerce is going to be your price and the content management system. The weaknesses for WooCommerce is going to be you are probably going to be requiring a lot of plugins, and WordPress is notorious with the plugin conflicts. So for the commerce, especially when you are talking about very deep layers of the commerce experience, when you have to implement scenarios such as your abandoned cart emails, or when you are looking at many different pop-ups or strategies that you are trying for your conversion rate optimization, that's where your WooCommerce is really going to struggle, and you might find it challenging. It is definitely not suitable for the B2B commerce experience when you are going to have deep layer of your customer hierarchies. The way the user and data model that WooCommerce has, it's very limiting. It's really designed for publisher-centric workflows. It's not really designed for commerce experience, and you will find it challenging if you are implementing it for your B2B commerce experience. Now, the other weaknesses that you are going to see with WooCommerce is going to be, it's really clunky. Having said that, WooCommerce is still a very strong and well-adopted platform, and that's why it ranks at number 5 on our list. Number 4 on our list is going to be Salesforce Commerce, and this is still the same rank as last year. Some of the strengths for Salesforce Commerce is going to be, it is really the enterprise grade platform, and one of the advantages with Salesforce Commerce is it has both capabilities, your B2C as well as B2B. Both of these capabilities are very strong, and they have 2 different products that they utilize. So your experience is not going to be as seamless when you are going to be switching between your B2B versus B2C, but you have very deep layers of your B2B capabilities as well as your B2C capabilities. The B2C product is going to be headless. In the case of B2B, you don't probably require as much headless. But in the case of B2B, you are going to require far more sophisticated data model. Salesforce does really well in some of these specific verticals. For example, let's say if you go for insurance, healthcare centric commerce, that's where Salesforce has very, very, very deep capabilities in its data model that none of the other platforms can really match. The other strength for Salesforce is going to be its ecosystem. It's humongous. It's going to be very comparable to some of the other SMB centric platforms, but Salesforce can execute or handle the workload of these enterprise companies. Now, some of the other strengths for Salesforce Commerce is going to be the deep merchandising as well as product recommendation capabilities as part of the Einstein portfolio. That is going to be very hard to find with some of the other commerce solutions. The weakness is always going to be the price for Salesforce. It gets very expensive. CRM itself is very expensive when you are going to be utilizing multiple solutions as part of your Salesforce portfolio, and then you have to integrate. So for the most part, for SMB companies, this might not be the most friendly. Now, the other weakness that Salesforce Commerce is going to have, even though they have headless capabilities, the headless capabilities are not necessarily as strong overall compared to some of the other newer vendors, for example, commerce tools. And it's really not fit for the smaller brands. That said, Salesforce Commerce is still a very strong solution, and that's why it ranks at number 4 on our list. Number 3 on our list is going to be Adobe Commerce or Magento. Now, this is also very similar ranking as last year. We have not had any sort of changes there with Adobe's rank. Now, the strength for Adobe is going to be the enterprise grade capabilities for B2B as well as B2C. It might not be able to handle as large workload as your SAP Commerce or Salesforce Commerce, but Adobe Commerce has been installed with many large installations and logos, so it can definitely handle very large workload. If you are buying it for enterprise, make sure you are doing the POCs to make sure that it is going to be able to handle your workload, because the transactional depth may be different in each of the industries. And we have found, especially when we interview our customers, they find Magento to be slightly slower in general. So that could be another challenge, especially if you are going to have massive workload as part of the enterprise. It could be challenging to get that in Adobe. Now, implementing Adobe requires deeper expertise overall from the IT perspective, from the optimization perspective. So if you have those capabilities, sometimes you might not have the same experience as you are going to see in the SMB space, because they might not have as deep capabilities in optimizing the databases or indexing or optimizing the e-commerce flow. And that's why the experience may vary. But overall, do your due diligence before finalizing Adobe or Magento for your enterprise-centric workload. The other strength for Adobe is going to be it's really open source, and the weaknesses for Adobe Commerce or the Magento is going to be it's perceived to be slightly more inflexible, just because it has very tight data model, which is actually good for your B2B-centric functionality and B2B-centric workload, because they require that tightness in your data model. But open source developers might not feel, or they might require a lot of training before they are going to be comfortable with Magento or Adobe. It could also be extremely overwhelming for business users, just because you are going to have those ERP layers, and that's where your practitioners are not going to be as comfortable. But again, you have that functionality for the B2B centric, the complex organizations, and that's the reason why Magento does really well in those spaces. So the functionality is there for a reason, and that's why it requires a lot more consulting expertise. So for the SMB companies, it might not be as friendly. And the other weakness, it's not really fit for the smaller brands. Having said that, Adobe Commerce or the Magento is still a very strong solution, and that's why it ranks at number 3 on our list for this year. Number 2 is similar to last year's rank as well, which is BigCommerce. And the strength for BigCommerce is going to be deep capabilities for B2B centric organizations. Now, BigCommerce is not really designed for the enterprise centric workload. It's still a very SMB solution. But because of its friendlier nature to SMB, it's going to be friendly for the business users. They will like it a lot more than some of the other platforms where you are going to require a lot more consulting, a lot more IT expertise, for example, Magento. The other strength for BigCommerce is going to be, compared to Shopify, BigCommerce provides the pricing options. So it will be cheaper then Shopify, again, do your diligence. Make sure you are doing the ROI and TCO analysis with both of the solutions. Sometimes when you are going to be analyzing this on the surface, you might not be able to identify all the pricing layers, or you might not understand them. And sometimes each solutions could be more expensive or cheaper depending upon how you are computing your workloads, how you are doing things from the transaction perspective. But overall, you have a lot more options from the pricing perspective with BigCommerce, and that might be friendlier for the SMB companies. Now, the weakness for BigCommerce is going to be you have limited enterprise grade features. So it's not really designed for enterprise centric companies. The B2C experience is going to be limited. You might not have as a strong ecosystem integrations or the marketplace add-ons available to support all of your B2C scenarios that you are going to find in other ecosystems such as Shopify. Having said that, BigCommerce is still a very strong solution, and that's why it ranks at number 2 on our list for this year. Now, number 1 is going to be Shopify. And Shopify still maintains the same rank as number 1 as last year because there has not been material changes with the other solutions, and Shopify is still very strong overall from the momentum perspective, the things that they are doing in the commerce space. So some of the strengths for Shopify is going to be the deep capabilities for B2C centric organizations. Now, they have also announced B2B capabilities, and these B2B capabilities are going to be part of the same solution. So you might not have as much integration challenges, especially if you are going to have very complex business model where you have both B2C as well as B2B business models, especially in the industrial verticals. You are probably going to be supporting both. And if B2B and B2C are going to be part of different platforms, that could be very challenging to integrate. So with Shopify, it's probably going to be easier. Now, the omni-channel commerce experience, when you talk about utilizing the POS from Shopify, and that's where your unified commerce experience is going to be extremely relevant. But Shopify POS is not really designed for that heavy foot traffic inside your retail stores. So the unified experience is great, but it does not have those deep capabilities that you are going to be needing, especially in the apparel space, when your inventory is going to be very complex or when your POS is going to require a lot more traffic. So omni-channel capabilities are there for some of the brands, but it might not be enough for all of them. The other strength for Shopify is its ecosystem. Now, the weaknesses for Shopify is going to be the B2B capabilities. Even though they are trying to build B2B capabilities, they are not there overall from the data model perspective. It might take years before they have all those deep capabilities that you are going to find with solutions like Optimizely or Magento. Now, the other weakness that people often talk about with Shopify, which is going to be transaction fee. Even though if you compare your credit card rates, especially if you are paying with credit card, that's probably going to be comparable with Shopify. But let's say if you are not doing that, then Shopify could be very expensive. So again, depending upon your transactions, depending upon your business model, Shopify could be a great fit, but it might not be the fit for every single business model. The other weakness for Shopify is going to be it's not going to have as many enterprise grade features, and you will require tons and tons of add-ons. And sometimes the integration and the omni-channel experience becomes extremely tricky with Shopify in general. So if you're looking for those, then there might be other platforms that might be better fit for you. Having said that, Shopify still has one of the largest market share in the e-commerce space, and it's still a very strong solution, and that's why it maintains the rank of number 1 on this list. If you enjoyed this video, we are going to include a detailed analysis with our blog, so check the link that is going to be included in the description. Also, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. We publish these videos on weekly basis. So if you like our content, subscribe to our channel. Also, if you prefer audio platform, our podcast is also available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. So check us out there as well as subscribe if you like. Also, if you have not checked our digital transformation report for 2023, we are going to include the link. So make sure you check that out. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.